Welcome to the XY Advisor podcast, where it's our goal to help you become the best financial advisor possible and drive the positive evolution of financial advice.
Hey guys, Ben Nash from the XY Advisor crew, and I'm super pumped to be introducing this brand new series we're about to kick off all around the 3 Ps of plan, produce, profit. Now, the XY team spent a lot of time thinking about what makes a great financial advice offering, a great financial advice business. And what we distilled it down to was that there are 3 key elements that you need to get right to have any level of success in your financial planning business. The first is about planning and how to plan an epic service proposition that's engaging for the people that you want to work with and compelling to drive real results within your business. The second is about producing, and that's about being efficient in your business, streamlining things, maximizing the benefits of technology to run a scalable and profitable advice service. And then the third is profit, which is all about getting your message out to a bigger market. How do you attract more people into this awesome offer that you're running efficiently and scalably? So I'm taking over the next 15 episodes. We're going to have 15 advisors, going to be 100% advisors. I've had a bunch of fun with the recordings that I've done so far, the interviews, and I've got a few more great ones to come. So I hope you enjoy this series.
This episode is proudly sponsored by FE Analytics. Now, a number of XY advisors have already discovered this one-stop, easy-to-use tool that helps with investment research, analysis, portfolio construction, ongoing monitoring, and client reporting. Find out how FE Analytics can help you improve your business process, manage your existing client base, and win new business by contacting Bruce Jenner via bruce.jenner, Jenner, at financialexpress.net or visit financialexpress.net for more information.
Mr. Holmes, Dean, the Deanster.
Whatever you want.
Ooh.
Dino is the most common one. We add, it's the Australian culture. We just add an O to the end of it.
Daddy-o?
Well, we're both dads now.
Yeah. That's the thing.
It's a new world. You're 2 weeks into it. I'm 8 months into it.
It's the new black. Baby is the new black.
It's very popular.
Or the new Asian.
Wait till you stop people in the street and start to interview them about prams. So I've been doing that. Yeah, I saw a guy in the cafe and I was like, "Excuse me, mate, can you tell me about this pram? Does it fold up? Do you put it in the car?" Just things that I didn't need to know. I didn't think that I needed to know in my life. I now have this extra piece of information.
You still went with the knockoff of my pram. Is that right?
Well, we bought the pram. We bought a different pram and it broke. So we bought hashtag, shall I mention the proper brand? But we bought a reasonably expensive branded pram, which wasn't the bugaboo one. But then it broke and it was a recall and and we just didn't really like the pram. We thought it was too big and chunky and stuff like that. So we returned it and got our money back. And at the same time, we were going to Boston. And so we needed a travel pram. Oh, yeah. And so we needed it quickly. And you could buy the Chinese knockoff of the yo-yo one or Baby Zenyo or whatever it is for $100 on eBay, and it came the next day. And
does it fit on the carry-on? Does it go?
Yeah, it fits on carry-on. So we took it on the plane. Even like from San Fran to Boston, you just put it in the overhead compartment.
Yep.
Or they just put it downstairs and you use it in the airport and stuff. So it's pretty good.
Well, I thought I was a pram pro until, because it's been going pretty good. It's like a one-hand thing. You can open the pram, you can close the pram. But yesterday, I was in the car park and there was a guy came. They were waiting for my part.
Oh, okay.
Oh my god! I cracked under pressure. I was there and I'm freaking around this thing. Fucking, what's going on? I got it in the end, but it was a very stressful experience.
Yeah. Wait till Margot's also like losing her shit, crying at the same time. So I had one of those experiences where I said to Chica, I was like, "It's fine. I'll take her to this event." And we'll just hang out and then we'll come home.
Oh, yeah.
And she's like, "Good luck."
Yeah.
And so I went, did everything was going fine until we started needing to walk back to the car. She just wouldn't sleep. And so she's lost, Florence lost it, as they do. And so then I've got to feed her, put her in the car, put the pram and everything in the boot, and then get in the car and drive home. And she's just losing it. And that was pretty hard. So
was it too small? Was that one?
No, I tried the bottle.
Oh, that makes more sense.
But yeah, it's a learning process.
We're going so well talking about kids and maybe we should just.
We're having a new podcast about how to be dads. There's a New Zealand guy that does this. Like, he does all the practical stuff about how to be a dad. Right. From a Aussie/Kiwi bloke's perspective, so I'm sure we can just
maybe
put the link.
Maybe next plan produce profits here because
we'll do that.
We'll do the pram. Anyway,
yeah, that's all right. If you didn't want to watch this, you could just fast forward the first 3 minutes of the podcast. So that's it.
So, mate, we're talking here all for this plan produce profit series. Today, we're talking about produce, which is all about creating a scalable and efficient service proposition where you're running things scalably, efficient, and all the things that sit underneath that. So, but before I get into the questions around the efficiency side of things, just for anyone that doesn't know the man machine that is Dean Holmes, tell me. So your business, Absolute Wealth Advisor, you've been going for 11
years. Yeah. Well, I invited you to our 10-year party, and that was last year. So we've been running for 11 years in June.
Right. And how many advisors?
In Absolute Wealth Advisors, we've got 4 ARs now.
How many clients?
Probably about 120.
And there's a tail, though, is there as well?
There's a tail that's getting smaller and smaller every year. So
what do you guys do? 120 clients, 4 advisors. Holy shit. That's why you got so much time hanging out on podcasts.
Yeah. No, we have a high touch service offering. Paul has 30 clients and he's getting that down to 20 over the next 5 years. So that gives us an idea of the scale of different clients that we have, I suppose.
Right. Well, given we're just across the road, feel free, those 10 clients, just I'll give you a couple of business cards on the way out.
Yeah. It's a whole business coaching thing. If you deleted your bottom even 10% of your clients by number every single year and just put on your ideal clients every year, in 5 years, you've actually turned over 50% of your client book with your ideal clients. And if you did that discipline, yes, you're going to lose some revenue, but you're replacing it with revenue that you actually want versus maybe not your ideal clients that are at the bottom. And in 5 years' time, you've changed your business completely.
Absolutely. And I think that ties very much into the efficiency piece as well, where you're working with all of the ideal clients, and it allows you to make sure that you're, it allows you to drive those efficiencies in the business as well. So
exactly.
No doubt we'll chat a bit more about that. But tell me, what's your service offering? What's an ideal client and what do you deliver for them?
Yeah, so an ideal client for us, in terms of their categories, we call them engaged delegators. Okay, so the engaged part is they're active participants in the financial planning process, which we'll get onto what we do, but they're engaged. So they reply to emails, they attend meetings, and they do what we tell them to do. So that's the engagement part. And so everyone's got clients that are super engaged and clients that are kind of, you keep dragging them along, and they're the ones that we like to work least with. And then the delegators part is, if you think about it, if we present a strategy, they hear it, they read their statement of advice, and they say yes or no, and then let us do the delegation. They delegate the responsibility to us to implement the plan. So it's not, we don't work with if you think about the alternative, someone's micromanaging or they're saying, well, I'll do that bit and you can do that bit. And when that happens, nothing gets done. So we take the responsibility of the implementation of the plan relatively seriously, which I know that every advisor does, but it's important from the client's perspective that they go, okay, the guys are going to implement the plan.
And especially with your clients, because the typical client is a more complex one than most.
Yeah, correct.
Business owners.
Yeah, so business owners, executives,
entities, tax planning.
Correct.
I think Paul Barrett continues to astound me with that, and yourself, but even more than you, with the level of tax planning knowledge and different pieces around some of those the entities.
Yeah, I think we have a higher degree of understanding in terms of business structures. I think any advisor that's a business owner starts to learn them by default because you're involved in doing your taxes. And we've bought and sold businesses, financial planning businesses. Our clients have bought and sold businesses. So we get immersed in the process along the way in that we learn about the capital gains tax exemptions. We learn about how best businesses should structure themselves to protect key assets of a company like intellectual property or cash versus keeping their risky assets in other entities. So we've learnt all that, and that's a part of the process. And so we don't necessarily give that advice, but we project manage that in conjunction with the accountants and lawyers to make sure the client's getting the right outcome.
For sure. And I should have asked you if I could ask you this one before, but revenue band?
Revenue band is about 1.5.
Cool. So I got a bunch of questions around efficiency, but tell me, just give us a bit of the background in terms of the journey with your business, Cliff. So you're running, 4 advisors now, working with these business owners, fairly complex clients, 10 and almost 11 years in. Tell us about the journey and how you ended up where you are.
Yeah, well, the journey, I suppose, say the first couple of years of getting started. So Paul and I left a firm together to start the business. We left during the GFC, so 2009. We thought that that's a really good time to start a financial planning business, or 2008, given it's 11 years. We decided to leave at that particular point in time, start our own business. The way we got started is we essentially partnered with a kind of like retiring advisor to buy his business out over a period of time. So we knew up front that we had our own business that clients were coming to, but we had this business that we were acquiring at the same time over sort of a 3-year period. So that was quite good. That lowered our risk, obviously, in terms of paying wages. I was young and single at the time, soon not to be single, but young and single when we made the decision. And so my expenses were quite low, but Paul's 12 years older than me. So he was in the private school high expense period. And so it was hard for us to go out as sort of you did and others did of start businesses from absolute scratch because we needed a bit of cash flow. In the business. And we had a couple of false starts in the beginning years. Like we made a decision, we were licensed by the AFSL of the business that we were partnering with. And sort of less than 6 months into that relationship, the AFSL came and saw us and said that they were shutting down the AFSL. Right. Essentially, if you go all the way back then, there was some within their group, they had some advisors that probably weren't doing the greatest thing. There was a lot of failed products in the GFC. And so I believe they saw the writing on the wall and decided to close their AFSL before the flood of complaints and claims may have hit. So a lot of things to do, and then we had to find a new licensee, at the 6-month mark. Not dissimilar to other advisors that are running around now trying to find licensees, because licensees seem to be either culling advisors with AMP or just shutting up shop as well. So it's a challenging time for that now as well. The result for us is that we knew of another AFSL, which is Fitzpatrick's, that Paul, going back has a long history with the founders of Fitzpatrick, Scott Fitzpatrick. And so it was like a safe home for us to go to where we trusted the people much more than anything else. So we knew that they would be a reasonable AFSL, but you pick the people, not necessarily anything else. And so we chose the people and we were licensed by them for about 3 years. Okay. And essentially we made the decision 3 years later that we would go and get our own, set up our own AFSL. Yeah. And so a little bit differences in the journey of what we did over the years. It's interesting is that we bought and sold financial planning businesses. So Paul and I bought some Fitzpatrick's financial planning businesses that were based in Sydney. Yeah. That is about 6 years ago now. So we bought 2 financial planning firms that had advisors in them, and we owned them for 3 years. Then we essentially sold those businesses to the advisors that were running them. Yeah. That taught us a lot about the differences between owning a business that is a financial planning business and having salaried advisors versus having owning a financial planning business and you are the advisor, or the advisor also owns part of the business. So the reading between those lines, I'm saying that it's having employed salaried advisors as a business owner is quite hard and quite risky, just in the context that the client owns the client. This whole client relationship is with this advisor that you're paying a salary. But if him or her go across the street and work for another advice business, some of those clients may gravitate across there.
Yeah.
And so that's a risk that personally me and my family don't want to take on, as in I borrow money to buy a business that then the clients leave. So I decided that we didn't want to do that. And so we sold the businesses, and that closed that kind of chapter of our journey. But hey, we learned a hell of a lot along the way. We had 15 staff, I think, at the top, across the two businesses. And so it was a lot more to manage as a result of that.
And given that you're no longer buying up businesses with advisors and putting on advisors in your business, does that mean that you feel the employed salaried advisor is a better model for growth where you're looking to grow? No. We don't think that that's I wouldn't employ an advisor to work in Absolute Wealth Advisors going forward. What we would prefer to do is, if an advisor wants to start a business, or we want to give an advisor clients, eventually we will put that book of clients into a new entity under their business, and we would have a co-ownership arrangement with them. Because when there's a co-ownership relationship, the financial incentives are known and documented because we're shareholders, and you can't steal from your own company. So you can't go across the road and take the clients out of your own company and move along. So it's sort of it removes that risk from the business. Yep. Cool. And so thinking on the efficiency side, so I know you're an efficient human being. In fact, you watch your movies at 1.25 speed.
I do.
Just to get through them a little quicker.
You can't, unfortunately, I can't do it anymore because Netflix doesn't allow you to do that. But back in the day when you were able to download a legitimate backup copy of a movie that you had at home, you could then watch that movie at 1.2 times the normal rate, and hands down, you don't know any difference. Yeah. So, and
how quickly you're getting through movies.
How quickly you're getting through movies, exactly. How many movies you can watch. So when I was flying back and forth from London, I could actually squeeze in like 2 extra movies by watching them on my laptop compared to the screen.
There you go. Shit.
So I can't believe you remembered that, but that's a good example of my randomness of efficiency.
Yes, so and that takes me back the London days back in would that be 4 years ago, 5 years ago?
Yeah, 5 years ago.
Back in the inaugural XY London Advisor Conference.
Yeah.
Satellited you in.
Yeah, it worked quite well. I was wearing my business shirt and shorts, I think, at that time. But yeah, that's been another adventure that I had in my journey. And my wife Anshika amazingly got a transfer. Not amazingly, but she works very hard. She is amazing, and she got a transfer across to the London office of Unilever, which is the global headquarters. And so we were able to live and work over there for 2.5 years. I commuted back to Sydney to have client meetings and to see the team. And mentoring meetings and all of that. And I worked remotely the rest of the time. And so I did an XY thing and spoke to clients, engaged clients, and worked with them remotely. And it worked reasonably well. The time zones weren't great in terms of times that I had to get up in order to talk to people in Australia. But say if you wanted to live in Tasmania and work remotely, the time zones would be perfect for Sydney.
And so do you think that doing that was part... I know obviously you were on the efficiency bandwagon before that, but did the move to London and working remotely, do you think that created more efficiencies? I think that's when you brought in your calendar links and stuff as well. Yeah,
we started to toy with different efficiencies at that time. We got more inefficient when I first left because we used to work in pods an advisor and associate advisor. So I had someone working directly with me, which allowed me to delegate work directly to one person, and then they were responsible for doing lots of the work. And so when I left, we sort of changed the structure a little bit to a pooled structure. So the resources the associates that we had were working with different advisors, and that actually imploded, that it wasn't the right thing to do, but it was a function of me leaving. And so that was a learning for us, I suppose, that our structure works better with having a delegate underneath the advisor in order to start to build this strong one-on-one relationship for delivering to the client. We've had that first false start in terms of structuring it, and then we moved back towards having an associate underneath, or a virtual assistant, a bit more to where we're doing it now, but having someone directly underneath you so that you build that rapport and relationship for everything that's going on.
Cool. And so tell me, when you started clearly you've got a natural tendency towards efficiency, and no doubt it's been in your business for probably since pretty much the get-go. But when you think about your journey with efficiency, how did you guys decide, where to start? I know that you've toyed with a few different things around teams, which you mentioned, your pods, outsourcing parts, now offshoring a bit as well. How do you pick, maybe that's more at the later stage, but how do you pick the priorities and what to focus on, how to get started with efficiency?
Look, for us, we had the best, I suppose, over the whole journey, we've been efficient, and then we've forgotten how to be efficient and changed the way we did it, and then looked back on our documents that we did 7 years ago, and we've looked back and went, we did it better back then. So we're constantly evolving, but sometimes we evolve and then realize actually we were doing it better before. So it's that whole identify what it is and then test it. And then you still have to look backwards to go, well, is the new way creating efficiencies, or is it actually dragging efficiencies? Like for us, in terms of our annual review process, it's relatively detailed. The work that goes into it is detailed, but then we're also producing this very large document that went with it every year, which we were beginning to realize that clients don't value the document. They just value the answers from the document. And so we've cut down the deliverables, but not the value from it, but we've cut down what we document, because it was just taking too many man hours and no one was valuing it. So that's sort of the whole thing about we identify the process that we're going to improve. We try to improve it, but then you've got to test it with clients to see if they valued it or not valued it, to work out whether you should keep doing it or stop doing it.
Yes, it's true. I was talking with Brett Evans the other day about he came up with a mailbox business because he's working with all these expat clients that he would collect the mail, skillfully scan it in and send it to people, but the market told him that was not a good idea. And it's like you've got to look. I think that's one of the things for efficiency is great, but at the end of the day, the client is the customer, and they're the ones that get to decide what's the right.
And look, I tried the calendar booking link, and I sent it out to a few clients, and I said, hey, I'm trialing this. Afterwards, I said, how did you think of it? What did you think of it? And a couple of them came back and said, well, it's a bit impersonal. And I was like, but I'm trying to be more efficient. I hate this when are you free stuff that goes along. And that was their feedback. So we still use it most of the time, the electronic means, but we do it differently now that we offer some times, and then we say if these don't work, click on this link and choose a different time. But the reality of what we did first is like we shoved that down their throat, and some people didn't like it.
Yeah, I think I like that. I like that as an idea. Actually, I think I can use that too.
You can. It's definitely not my idea. Some listener is listening right now going, I do that too. Dean stole it from me. Most ideas are not unique. It's just how you integrate them in your business. So
that's it. Yeah. Cool. And so you work through a whole bunch of different things, but what do you think is one of the key learnings that you found through, like, when you're thinking about trying to push efficiencies into your advice business?
Sorry?
One of the key.
Yeah. I suppose for us, we have 4 advisors now in the business. And so we came up with this concept called the Away Way. So AWA for Absolute Wealth Advisors, Way. Way doesn't have an acronym. It's just a way of doing things. And so what we realized, Away Way. I may have pronounced it. We call it the Away Way, just for everyone to know, regardless of how it sounds. But the context behind that is actually what we found when building processes for our business. We realized that there's quirks within each of us. So Paul, Dean and Stella predominantly, who've been there all of the time, we do things slightly different. And what we were realizing is that the slight differences in the way in which we wanted to do things ruined our ability to create a process. Because what would happen is like we would decide on a process, and then Paul, for example, he was the classic and probably won't listen to this, so it's okay. We would be working on the process, but Paul would get 3/4 of the way through the process and then deviate because he would realize that the process didn't completely do what he wanted it to do. So then he would deviate off the process, the glitch in the matrix, create a spreadsheet, well done, and then he would continue on with the process. And so what happened then is that is not scalable in the context of the advice business, because now Paul and his assistant are going off on this tangent, and I'm going off on this tangent, and Stella's trying to follow a process as well, but she doesn't know who to follow. So our biggest learning is to absolutely lock down between whoever's in your business what the process is going to be, and then give each other permission to go, well, no, if you don't follow the Away Way, you have to reinvent the Away Way. You have to convince me why the deviation is now the new way. Mm-hmm. And we have this, and this has worked really well probably for the last 12 months, is that, probably the last 2 years actually, that we actually spend more time debating the right way that we want to do something as a business, and then we suck it up and do it. Mm-hmm. You know, we agree to disagree, but we agree that we've got the Away Way, and then that's it.
Yeah.
Until we come back again to review those processes.
And so does that mean that everybody's a little bit pissed off at the end?
If everyone, yeah, it's like any negotiation, right? It's like if everyone's a little annoyed at the end of the negotiation, it's been a good negotiation because there's been compromises on both sides. Both people have got a little bit what they want, but not everything.
Yeah.
You know, that's sort of the way we find the middle way between it. I get a bit headstrong sometimes and I go, no, we've got to do it this way. But if Paul does listen, he does definitely believe in the Away Way now. And he does. Yeah. I just let him listen to this 10-minute section.
Yeah. And so you tried a few different iterations of team, and I think for me, what I found, and I mentioned a few times on the podcast about for the first 3 years of Pivot Wealth, it was the first year me, then with Yang as well, my wife, a couple of years. What I learned through that is that team is really the key to running a scaled advice, like a scalable business where you don't just go fucking insane from plugging away. Shout out to all the solo heroes out there, but I think that if there does become a limit where as you're trying to run a business, you're trying to be an advisor, you're trying to do something, unless you were really just running a pure lifestyle business and you're happy with a small number of clients, it's very difficult, I think, to be sustainable and be really good without going crazy at that level. So to me, team, I think, is super important. You've tried some different things, pods, pulled, some, not worked, outsourcing. We're using the same outsourcing company for a little bit. You changed your approach again now doing some offshoring as well. What do you think, like, what are your takeaways through that, or what would you say to someone in terms of how do you approach knowing that an iteration is needed in your team, or how to figure out what the right approach to those things are within a financial community?
So the journey that we had, and it happens to everyone, so in terms of we had what we called associate advisors, you might call them experienced CSOs moving into junior advisors, associate advisors sort of thing. So we had these people that we would get in with some good university education, some financial planning experience.
Shitty accents.
Some of them would have shitty accents. Both of them had accents if they're both listening, but that's a different story. And then we would train them in the away way, but we didn't call it that back then, is they would come through the Dean Holmes boot camp of financial planning. So I would spend 2 years training them up on how to do everything the way that we wanted it to be done. And so, but the evolution of them as people is that we do a really good job, but then at some point in time, we don't necessarily have the ever-growing business to ever grow positions for them. Yeah. So CSO to, senior CSO to associate advisor, the next step is to become an advisor. And we didn't quadruple our number of clients to put them as an advisor on their own. And so the iteration of going through that is we had a lot of success until the point at which we were unable to accommodate them in their career context. So they have to go. And we're okay with that. But that's some more than others. But if he's listening, you can contact us. But yeah, like we got to that point, and we are proud in some context because we built a person that from, not nothing, but from a junior person up into someone that can sit and stand in front of clients. Yeah. But that evolution meant that we lost a lot as well. In the context of we lost a lot of intellectual property, client relationships, and just stuff left the business when those people left.
And also time, right? As well.
We've got to retrain someone from scratch.
You do all these things, and it's the thing. It's the right thing for an employer to do to help your team build their skills and all of that sort of jazz. But also you can see that the time that goes into training people up, and it's quite technical stuff that you guys do as well. Is then it's time that. Hard to, especially when something so bespoke. It's not like there's a procedure manual and someone comes in and goes, okay,
I'll just follow all that.
I'll follow the steps. So that's an interesting one. So do you think then that, because what I'm sort of picking up from what you're saying is, and I hadn't actually thought about this before, but that you've got to have the team strategy that fits your business strategy, because you guys were like, oh, well, we're just going, we're happy with our like slow-ish growth. You've got a substantial business, obviously, but you're not looking to grow rapidly or grow rapidly.
Yeah, we weren't looking to double our size, so we didn't need, or even an advisor should manage $500,000, can easily manage $500,000 revenue with the right structures, and so we weren't planning to put on $500,000 worth of revenue in 1 year to warrant graduating that person. And even when we did that, then we'd need 2 new CSOs that I'd have to train up.
Yeah.
So it's sort of the business growth strategy of growing the revenue, but then putting more. I've now put 3 new employees then, 2 new CSOs and 1 new advisor. The profitability may not actually be that much more, even though my revenue is $500,000 higher.
Yeah.
Which we can do on your profitability podcast in terms of whether adding extra advisors adds extra profit to the owners.
Yeah, that's what we're all talking about. This whole thing is all about scalable efficiency. So scalability of your service offering, but then scalability of your business as well. And revenue as a number, but really it's your bottom line is the most important number. So I think that like what I'm getting is that you need to think about what's your business growth strategy, and then have a team strategy that's consistent, because you know, if you want to have slow growth, but then you've got people and you're getting hungry, motivated people, training them up, because then they're going to hit the ceiling.
They're going to hit the ceiling and want to go.
Want to move on.
So where we are now, we had a couple of iterations of where we are now, but essentially we decided that there were some functions in the business that we wanted to remove from the business. Those 2. The first one that we decided that we wanted to remove from the business was just a power planning function. So we now partner with an outsourced power planning business to generate our financial planning documents. And so that's a scalability thing. No, Click.
Okay.
Nick Toppin. So that's a scalability decision as well, is that actually I now can, if I had 3 clients coming in 2 weeks' time, I could get their 3 SOAs done on time. Yeah. Whereas if it was in my business, if we're in our review season and I get 3 new clients, the documents are going to be delayed just in terms of the capacity that we have within our own business. So that was one of the things that we got out of our business, and we definitely are happier not writing SOAs. Okay. I think that it is a specialist skill set in terms of the knowledge and understanding. We still do all of the power planning type thinking, but then we're able to very easily fill out we fill out a power planning request form. We record a video going through all the source documents, talking through all the strategies, talking through what the power planning request form is. So we sort of do as if that we were talking to our power planner. Yeah. We do like a 10-minute brief of what we want the advice document to cover. And video is the most amazing thing it's changed our business as well, which we'll get onto. But just the ability to record and explain what you want to do in the context of getting this SOA requested makes our life so much easier. Yep. And so that's one function that we got out of the business. And then the other function that it's not really out of our business, but we just partnered with a firm to do most of our administration. And so we had a false start in that regard. The first firm we used was essentially a join a queue type of form. So if I wanted super research done, I would join the queue of advisors waiting for super research to be done. And when I got to the front of the queue, the staff member would do my super research and send it back to me. Yeah. Then if I need another one done, I would join the queue and it would wait. And so the queue wasn't necessarily always long, but the 2 things that happened as a result is it was very hard to get urgent work done because the queue is the queue. Yeah. And there was because we were joining this queue, the process, we weren't able to use our processes exactly. It was sort of, we were in their processes, and the staff members that were there were following like 10 different processes because that what I wanted, what the other advisor wanted, what the other advisor wanted, and they're from 3 different licensees with 3 different requirements. So that didn't work for us, and this is the whole away thing is like we just want one way to do it, not 5 ways to do it. And so where we move to now is that we have the businesses calls them virtual assistants, but essentially they're CSOs that work in Cebu, in the Philippines, and they're amazing. So the difference that we went with is we have full-time staff, so they only work completely for us, and we train them. So VA Platinum do some introductory training, but then they're our people. So they only do our work, they follow our processes, they do everything for us, and they're part of our team. Sure. And that in the last 12 months has changed our business once again, just in terms of our ability to obviously delegate work, but have them diligently following up things that were, sometimes falling through the cracks here because you have too many things to do here.
Yeah. And so you've been going 12 months, you got 2?
Yeah, 4. 4 now,
Holy crap. That grew quickly.
So we have, if you think per week, we have approximately 160 hours of processing capacity in Cebu. Yeah. With the 4 people. And so the volume of work that we're able to get done as a result is high. And essentially each of our staff members here in Sydney have a staff member directly in Cebu. That's how we work with that, with some crossovers of responsibilities. So we're making, like Katie, who works in Cebu, she's becoming our insurance specialist in the admin context, not in the advice context. Yeah. So if there's insurance quoting and stuff like that to be done requested by any advisor, Katie will be the subject matter expert of the insurance, for example, and she'll make sure the quotes are being done correctly, for example. And CJ is responsible for doing some FDS and engagement agreement work, and so none of the other team do that, for example. So we've got each of them working on little specialties, as well as providing direct one-on-one support to the advisor to deliver to their clients.
I like it. And so, if you're working with the team and over the last 12 months, and also from a couple of false starts with the outsourcing people, the people that are external parties, what have you learned? Like, what would you say is a key thing that you need to get right to make that actually successful? Because I see a lot of it. I know I failed at it twice.
Yeah.
That it's not easy to run a team and make it work in a way where people are engaged and getting good results. And,
So I think there's two answers to the question. The first is the where the staff are located and the company that you choose. So we use VA Platinum. They came very highly recommended. I know about 6 other advisors that use the firm. And so they offer great benefits to their employees. So they pay them well. They get a rice allowance, which is important in Cebu. They get all the public holidays that they're entitled to. They get private medical insurance for themselves and one family member. And that's important because often families live together in Cebu. So mum and dad and kids live in the one household. And so you can allocate this private health insurance to whoever needs it the most within your family, which is really important. They get breakfast every day provided by the company, which is essentially provided by us, but provided by the company, and then they have great culture. They go out on events. A couple of our guys now like catch up on the weekend, or they go out for lunch together and things like that. So they're like a team that work for us in and amongst a larger team, which is now 100 staff. Brian has 100 staff there. So he's done a lot of work on building the culture of that office, which then distills down to happy people. Yeah. Okay. So we've got happy people working in Cebu is the first and foremost thing. And then how we have integrated with them is we have the philosophy that absolutely the way in which you would have taught someone if they were here in Sydney is you would have sat next to them, explained it, looked at the screen together, and then delegated the work that way. And so we did exactly the same thing, except using Microsoft Teams, which is like Slack video sharing. It's not a fancy piece of software, but what we're able to do very quickly and easily is constantly be in touch with our staff via video. Yep. So if I want them to do something, I can video call them and talk to them and look at them, explain what I want to do, share my screen, and then they're able to do it. Yep. And the bit that they do amazingly well, and this is what Brian put into the business, is they always record every conversation. So have you ever had a time when you've spoken to a staff member saying, can you do this, and this, and this?
Yeah.
And you walk away and they haven't written anything down.
Yeah.
And you're like, I always use my pen and paper. Like, I was like, do that. And then I'd come back like next week and I'd be like, oh, have you done all that? And they've done 2 out of 5.
Yeah.
And so that doesn't happen. So they have a high degree of success because of the tools that they use to make sure that they do the tasks.
Yeah.
They just watch the video back. And so I've taught Bentley's my other guy. Everyone knows Bentley's name. But Bentley does some complicated stuff for me now, but I've taught him once.
Yeah.
I showed him on the video. He recorded it. The next month when he had to do this reporting, 10 out of 10.
Yeah.
Because he recorded it. So what we've taken that to now this away. So we've got a whole knowledge and resources library, which is probably about 50% complete. But our goal is to have every process documented, but documented to us means that it's written, there's a template document, and there's videos explaining how to do something.
Yeah. We do the same thing. We use like Salesforce CRM. every process has its steps and the tasks, and then every task has a link to a video that's screencast talking through all of the things as well. But I love that in that you should, because I think it's easy when you're in this outsourcing or offshoring, you just go, well, there's a form, or hit a Slack message or something. You go, there you go, do that thing. Things are getting lost in translation. There's a cultural gap and stuff as well. That it's easy to fall into that, and then people aren't engaged, the team's not motivated, you don't get the results as well. So I like that tip around video. And let me ask you, how much do you think, because you hired 2 guys right at the start, how much of a difference do you think that makes?
It makes a fundamental difference.
Yeah.
So it's like they learn from one another. And now it's got even better because we have 4 staff now, is that we were told to get 2. Brian said, don't get 1, just get 2. And, that costs us double.
Yeah.
But absolutely, I would always recommend 2 staff over 1. You've got holidays and sick leave covered. Not that's 20 days a year. It's not significant. It's not huge. But in terms of your ability to teach things, you teach it once and 2 people have learnt it, which then they can document it. We don't document our processes anymore. They do. And it just means also if it doesn't work out, you can keep 1.
Yeah.
Okay. So 2 could become 1 because you don't make a right hire, which didn't happen for us, but it can happen.
Yeah.
But if that does happen, you now have 1 person who can train the other. So when CJ started, who was our 3rd, we did cultural onboarding, talk to her about our business, what we do, how all the pieces of the pie fit together. Yep. But in terms of her learning what SharePoint was or what the Colonial First State website was, she was learning from our knowledge and resources page, but mostly just by talking to the staff member that's right next to her.
Yeah.
And so we're getting that leverage in terms of other business. We want to encourage the other businesses in the wealth network that they also over time have VAs in the same pod. So, Jess and Glenn are going to have 2 VAs in the future, and those 2 VAs are going to learn from ours. So amazingly, you bring on staff into your business and they learn processes from people that are sitting with them.
Yeah.
That's winning in my context of virtual assistants.
I like it. I'm renewing my faith. So
yeah.
I think that the efficiency in teams is a massive driver of efficiency in a business overall. But so, what do you think if you take a step back and say if someone's looking at really really doubling down on efficiency in their business, what do you think the key thing to get right is?
Look, the key thing that we've been focused on is sort of to talk through how you structure your annual review process in the context of anyone that's starting a business. Year 1 is kind of easy because you take on all these clients, do it. Then you get to year 2 and you've got to deliver to year 1 clients again, as well as take on all these new year 2 clients. Yeah. And as you get year 3, 4, 5, and 6, it's just going to keep multiplying. And so the annual review process is really important. It's what clients value the most. And, Hayne said that that's the bit that, they should be paying for, and that's what they value the most in terms of the review document, the ROA, et cetera, not your newsletter. I don't read your newsletter, by the way, but that's okay.
I don't have a newsletter.
Good. Clients don't value it. We once, a side story, we used to do an investment newsletter. This is back in 2009 or 10, right?
Yeah.
So Paul and I would spend this time writing this investment newsletter. What's good value, what's buy, sell, hold, not stocks, but just equity asset valuations and stuff like that. And we sent it out to all of our clients. 2 read it.
Yeah.
We tracked it. 2 read it. We would have been better off spending that time ringing those 2 clients to say, this is the situation, and letting the other 99 clients go.
Yeah.
And we learnt it on the negative side as well. As one client rang us up and said, why didn't you recommend that I buy some more? And we're like, we sent this newsletter every quarter for the last year saying it's time to buy since 2010.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, I haven't read that. I thought you would have called me.
Yeah.
And so we're like, oh, okay. We learned from that. But anyway, so we don't send the newsletters either. But in terms of our review process, we've become quite structured in the way in which we deliver reviews, and in the way in which we divide our year in terms of delivering the annual reviews. So we only deliver annual reviews in February, March, April, May. So those 4 months in the first half of the year, and then we do August, September, October, November. They're the only times that we deliver annual reviews to clients. And then June is always tax planning. So we're not selling agribusiness or anything like that, but tax planning for us is making sure clients and business owners have made their super contributions, made their pension withdrawals. We take all of our clients that are business owners to their accountant to do all their tax planning for their businesses to make sure what the dividends and profits going to be. So that's the month of June for us. July, which we just finished, is a little bit of a rest. We usually finish our projects that we're working on and just mutter through July, which is quite nice. August, September, October, we'll do annual reviews, and then December and January is projects and Christmas parties and rest as well. Not that we rest in all those periods, it doesn't sound right, but we pause during those periods in terms of doing the reviews. And what that's done is actually allows us to focus really hard on when we're doing the reviews. And then we've built a relatively good process in terms of everything that we've got to do for any client annual review that's coming in. So,
and what do you do if the client needs a review and it's in June or July? Like if something big is going on, what do you do?
Look, of course we meet our clients. We wouldn't, there's a difference between doing our annual review for them and solving a problem for them. So clients ring us all the time with stuff. They go, I'm thinking about doing this, or I need to do this. That's incremental advice that we provide all of the time. But we provide them their formal documented annual review in those months.
Yeah, look, I think scheduling is one of the keys to both on a macro and micro level through the year is one of the keys to efficiency. I know that for me, it's one of the only ways that I can manage the workload between business, working with clients, getting, doing the right number of the right type of meetings to get the right business outcomes as well. I just had this conversation with Ray the other day. We're building out the ideal week and saying these days there's a slot, keep that slot for that strategy meeting because that's the only way you can hit the targets that you want. So I think that sometimes when people think about efficiencies, they think that it's about trying to increase the tech stack or do something else. But
that's right. We're like the opposite from a tech stack perspective. Like everything that we try to do, we do within this Office 365 bundle, so we don't have leakage. So we have Advisor Logic and 365, and that's it in terms of tech. Bold. It works for us. And we can have it. We should have a tech podcast. But from my perspective, it works really well and it's safe and secure. But we always have this thing about we don't want to open that window up for anything else. Don't break the cycle. It works.
I like it. Well, I sort of like it, except for the fact that I hate Microsoft.
Yeah, that's okay.
But I agree that the linking is something that's insanely valuable, and the benefit that you get from that does outweigh that some things are better than others. Like me, but I think it's all what works for you. Yeah,
and it's all the bigger. Yeah, you're right. The time that we save in structuring the annual reviews is significant versus. Do I need to use Zapier to connect two apps together so that when a client changes their email address, it syncs across 3 systems? Yeah. I love that. That's great. But that might save you 3 seconds a month. Like how many times do clients change email addresses, let alone, street addresses? Whereas structuring your annual review can save you hours per client per year. Yeah. And so if we improve the process by 1 of my hours across the 100 clients, we've saved 100 hours a year. I can reinvest that into changing clients' email addresses if they need to. Like,
I don't think there's that for that, if we're being honest. But
maybe not. No, but there's that's sort of the whole thing about why people are, they're connecting things so that information is shared amongst all those platforms, and that's great. but don't spend too much time.
Yeah, for sure. What would you say is the biggest mistake that people make when it comes to trying to drive efficiencies in their business?
Look, I think documenting some type of what does success look like before you start is ideal. So when we run Traction in our business, which is a business coaching tool, and when we set our quarterly rocks, we then say, what does success look like? So we've got a particular rock, and then we need to really well define what success and done looks like to that particular rock. And I think you apply it, we can apply that to anything, but we apply it to when we're going, let's reinvent the annual review process or our first meeting process or any process that we've got within our business. It's like, well, what does done look like? How do you know when you've reached there? What do we want it to look and feel like practically? When is it done? And from there, you can work backwards. I think some people dive into changing the process or just tweaking the process without understanding where they're actually going to finish.
Yep.
Because finishing is the most important thing. Even if you finishing to 80% is okay if you intended to finish at 80%.
Yep.
I think there's probably lots of half-written processes that then advisors get themselves distracted doing something else, and then it's never implemented because it's never finished.
I agree. Yeah, and it's that's the only way you do it, and processes is something that we keep coming back to on this part of the podcast. But once it's done, then you can review it. You can't review it until it's done, and then that's that
Correct.
constant reviewing and improvement that really compounds the benefits of efficiencies.
Yeah, exactly. So not that we're not there yet, but the vision is that every process has like a date on it, and then we have a process to review the processes every 2 years. So at least now, this doesn't exist for us at the moment, but in SharePoint we can date every page, which then gives us a guide to say when every page was created. So then I know when every process was documented. And then every 2 years you start with the oldest documents and go, well, they were written 2 years ago. Are they still relevant? And you just keep working down that list again and updating your processes. Even we spent so long recording Colonial First State's website, and then they invented a new website. And so now all of our processes, all the videos don't match the website. So now we eventually have to go
to classic site.
Yeah, you got to change to the new. You got to change to the new. But it's those type of things. Everything's constantly changing. So you got to suck out and work out how you're going to update your processes.
For sure. And so if you were going back to the drawing board and starting from a clean slate, what would you do differently?
I think going back 11 years ago, we didn't write down our processes back then. We were a bit looser in terms of it was just Paul and I. We knew what we knew, and we just got on and got the work done. And so we didn't go through exercises of deciding what the process is and then documenting it. We sort of knew between us what they were, and then just worked alongside one another, him building his spreadsheets and me just going along, right? And so we didn't start with the end in mind in terms of documenting the processes, but that's just because we didn't know. You don't know what you don't know. The business we came from didn't have any processes either, and so we just started a business and started following. Just patching it together. So, but it's a lot of time investment. Like we have a guy called Tom, or I'll make him watch this now, but for the one mention, but he's a uni student who's incredibly intelligent and IT focused. He's studying engineering, but he understands IT, and he is documenting he's in charge of documenting our processes, taking the videos from Cebu, taking the learnings, turning it all into a SharePoint page and putting it up there in the cloud such that we can use it going forward. And he'll work 2 days. He's worked 2 days a week for us for nearly a year. Probably he's been doing it for at least 6 months now. And we're getting an intern from the US, I think. And that intern's going to help Tom finish the project by Christmas.
Okay. So the top tip of what you do differently is have the processes sooner.
Yeah, try to have the processes sooner. Even if, you don't have to document the process, not each step along the way, but actually, try to document what you're doing. But if you're starting on your own, it's kind of hard because you sort of say to yourself, well, I know what I'm doing, so why would I document it? So my top tip is start with a VA on day one. What are you trying to do on day? If you think you've got an investment to start a business and you've got two competing things, you've got all of the expenses that you want to pay. So you go, I'll just start it with myself. I would encourage everyone to go, well, it's $20,000 a year for a VA. Start on day one with a VA and they will document your processes.
Yeah. Yeah, I found for myself that I flew solo for a year and like you guys, I just figured it out and sort of do everything on the fly, nothing. I had thought in processes and I sort of knew what my process was, but it was only when after a year that I bring Yang into the business who didn't know about financial planning. That sort of forced me because she didn't understand and to document everything out so I wanted to make sure that nothing was missed. I spent a lot of time mapping it out with her and using it and figuring out, get the process done and then go, okay, well, because I've got it in my mind to say, well, I think this is how I should think, but not everyone. In fact, very few people think exactly the way that I do. Yang definitely not. So she would go, oh, well, that doesn't make sense. Like, what's the thing? And then it allows you to go, well, actually, now we can refine. And it was only really then that we started enhancing what we're doing, more consistent customer experiences, better from an efficiency perspective. And like you say, that if you don't have that, then it doesn't force you to do it. But that's really the foundation. I think for any sort of this, we're talking about scale, that you can't scale without a level of consistency. It's impossible. You're just growing and it's just people growing.
And scaling is that scaling works well when there's something to follow. You can't scale off nothing. It just doesn't work. Like that's not scaling, that's working harder. Scaling by definition has to be that you're able to do things stronger, better, faster. And you're not necessarily scaling the customer experience. You're scaling the stuff that the clients don't see or value in the back end, right? So you'll sit in front of a client. Your advice processes might be super efficient, but that doesn't matter when you're sitting in front of the client. They just care about you and the discussion and what you draw on the whiteboard for 4 hours. That's what they value. Yeah. And then you go away and you do everything else in the background efficiently. So they don't even see it. They don't know how many people you got in the back end engine working. It's more. It's about. They don't ask. Yeah. They don't. No, they don't. They don't ask, or it doesn't necessarily matter. And we've had good success. Even our team in Cebu now email our clients without a problem.
Yeah, I had someone ask me the other day if this whole office was for us. They were upstairs. They came in on the. And they said, "Is this all?" Like, no, we're just downstairs in the dark.
Well, I guess I have 4 floors.
Well, mate, look, I could chat all day. I love efficiency as a topic, and I know we could shoot the brief.
But you want this meeting to be efficient.
Exactly.
So start on time, finish on time. That's the goal.
Yes, it's clearly on. Maybe I've got some efficiency gains to get to have. But before I let you go, a few quick ones for you. Okay. What's your biggest oops moment or stuff up? Doesn't have to be an efficiency thing.
Biggest in work-wise?
You can lay down some of your personal values.
I've got too many of those. My biggest stuff up is I once sold some BHP shares for a client that were like pre-CGT. And I didn't know. That was a bit of a stuff up. You can't undo those kind of things.
No.
So that costs someone to do. Well, you had to compensate the client.
Right.
So that's it.
Best piece of advice you ever received?
Look, the best piece of advice is like the funniest one, but everyone says that you don't know what you don't know. Like that's actually, if you start to think about that, that's why you need help all of the time, is that clients don't know what they don't know. We don't know what we don't know. And so listening to this podcast or other podcasts and just gaining information is very valuable. And you can't get too much information.
Yes.
Yeah.
Although I wonder though, when it comes to clients and that information overload, and I find, I suppose it depends on the context, but sometimes that can be a barrier
for clients. Yeah, for clients. But for us as business owners and trying to think about what our businesses might be like in 5 years and to think about what other things may take over our roles or our driverless cars or our artificial intelligence, et cetera, you got to seek out that information to work out whether it's to be at the front end of the industry.
And not be reactive, which is a lot of stuff we're seeing. I like it. Cool. And last one, and we spent a lot of time talking about team, but what would be your top tip for teams?
Top tip for I sort of spoke about the top tip for the virtual team in treating your team as if they're in your office is absolutely number one. The other thing that we're doing with our team is next Monday, I think, is that we're all having a meeting and pizza. And so they're getting pizza in Cebu in their meeting room. They're going to sit around like this, four of them on that side eating pizza, and we're going to do the same thing on the other side. So there's a concept.
Same flavors, different flavors.
Probably different flavors. In the Philippines, they have some random food. So random from us, normal for them. It's like, so I think team culture is really important, and putting the effort in to maintain the culture, even though you're in two different locations, is really important. So top tip for the team is to bring wherever your team is to ensure that you're having that moments of fun built in to your week, month, year. Consistent. And you've got to systematize the fun in order to remember. Because we've got a lot of stuff going on, and it's like, I want to be nice to my team, and I want to reward and sit down and have a chat with them. But if I don't create a system around Bentley, making sure that we book it in every quarter, it just gets forgotten just because I got a lot of stuff on. So even though that it's meant to be fun and spontaneous, it doesn't mean that you don't. It doesn't have to be spontaneous.
Yeah.
So you can set a reminder to buy Yang flowers every month. She doesn't need to know that you've set the reminder. So
we've got cats and there's a lot of allergens in the flowers, so now I save money on flowers.
It's good. Buy cat food instead.
Exactly.
So yeah, that's my team. That was a question. Team tip.
Top team.
Yeah, top team tip. Yeah.
Last question. What is your spirit animal?
Oh, good. I was ready for this one, actually, because I listened to the other couple of podcasts.
Brett Evans asked me that he didn't know what a spirit animal was.
I don't know. Can't comment. So, yeah. I think that and the honest answer when I was listening to the first podcast, and what absolutely comes to mind, is that my spirit animal is actually a penguin. Which I know will be quite random, but the context is in Enchikramai's relationship, penguins mate for life. And so we have this picture. If anything, I know. We've got, on my wall at home, we've got this picture of two penguins, and obviously now there's a little penguin in between. But we have our spirit animals in terms of our relationship is the penguin, because that's the attitude that we have towards our relationship.
Do you have a non-ass kissing response? Or?
I did, but I can't remember. I can't remember what it is. Jess's horse. No, I'm happy that I close with the penguin, and you can put it in.
Jess's horse one was good. That was solid.
Yeah,
left field.
Yeah, that was good. So no, I didn't. I don't think I have another one for myself. You can come up with one.
Mate, I'll leave it at that. Love the view. Thank you very much for joining us. Appreciate the time. Some great tips there. Yeah, love your work.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you. Cool.